Hey everybody, so I'm just going to voice this over here because, I don't really feel like putting the camera on, but it doesn't mean that I can't walk you through the truing session here that I did after building this specialized 26-inch wheel. So what I'm going to do is take you through a few truing scenarios, right? Where I'll give you kind of like a heads-on view of the wheel in the stand and it being out of true at that particular point. And then I'm going to give you a side view and show you what I did to fix that. Now, one of the problems with these truing type videos is that no matter what you do, you're always going to kind of ruin like you're going to try to fix the true, but you're just going to create a problem somewhere else. And truing, all you're really trying to do is just fix the wheel kind of inch by inch, so to speak, like bit by bit. So you're going to fix one problem here, but then it's going to cause another problem over there. So it's just a constant state of correction. So that's what makes it kind of difficult for me to really explain what's going on here. So I'm going to do my best again. I guess it's just one step better than just showing you what I did. And like sometimes I think that it's actually it's actually better to just show you what I do and just not say anything, so you can just kind of see and use your visual learning skills to just figure out what it is that I'm doing. Now, I honestly wanted to make this into a ASMR video, but for some reason, like the mic just didn't pick up the sound. So you're gonna have to listen to me tell you what I did. We'll just kind of get her going here. So after we've done the full lacing of the wheel, one thing we have to do is just turn all the nipples so that they cover all of the threads on each spoke. Now, you have to do this all the way around the wheel, and you can use your fingers to cover all the threads on the spokes with the nipples, but sometimes it's a little bit faster, or maybe you just don't want to use like your fingers and you just want to use your nipple driver. It's an expensive enough tool, so you kind of want to use it as much as you possibly can. So anyways, here, it's on the stand and we just want to find the valve hole here. That's kind of the way you always want to start everything. And what I want to do in this particular case, and in this case only, is I want to put 2 turns of tension on the spokes, so 2 turns on the nipples, and see where I am from there. once I've done that, I'm just going to check the tension here, and you can see there's still a lot of slack in the spokes. So one of the things I'm going to do here before I get too far into the truing is my method of de-stressing the wheel. This is the way that I'm doing it here. There are other ways to do it, but this is basically the easiest way. You just get down, hands and knees, use a shoe or something, and you just push that down, because really all it's doing is it's simulating the tension, so the force that's going to be placed on the wheel. Okay, so here we go. We got a head on. You can see we have hops or dips and a little bit of side to side, but mostly it's just radial truing that needs to be done here. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to tighten up the problem areas. When you cover all the spokes to get that initial tension going, sometimes the tension isn't going to be perfect on each spoke. So you have to take that into consideration before you even start. And when you figure that into it, you know you're just going to have to fix it as you go. And it's really one of my first steps. So I like to say you just radial true first, but ceteris paribus, right? It means like with all things being equal, and that means there isn't too much lateral play. So we just use a little common sense, and we start with our radial truing, unless we need a little bit of lateral truing first. Okay, we have another head on here, and you can see that there's a bit of a dip there, and it's kind of pulled over a bit to the left side, and then it kind of waves over to the right side along with a dip. There we go. We can see that it's all the way over on the left side. And what we want to do is pull the rim over to the right side. Okay, here, I'm just kind of showing you there actually is a dip, right? Because you can just pull the arm on the stand, and what'll happen is it'll hit the rim. So I have it set so that the rim should be over top of the indicator arms, and it's not. That means that it's definitely a dip. So the way that I do it is I just look for the loosest spokes. Like I use my fingers, I feel for the loosest spokes, and I start tightening those up. Now, obviously I want to do it around where the dip is, but sometimes the dip is a little longer than you might think it is. So you may have to fix 2, 3, 4 spokes in a row to really get that dip up. Then you just kind of reassess from there, start over, and then recorrect. You can see here, like some of the spokes are still really loose. Like that's not even near the dip. So it's just a spoke that needs to be tightened up. Just needs to be tightened up. And I know I'm going to have to do it later. So I'm just going to do it now. There we go. Sometimes I'll just put the spoke wrench on the nipple, and just see if it actually needs the tension. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to just go to the next one over. And there, I actually tightened a little bit more on that spoke. So it actually did need a little more tension. So here's head on again. And you can see I still have a little bit of that dip. There we go. Show you on the side view here. So here, I'm just kind of showing you that there are some loose spokes, right? And just because there's a dip over here doesn't mean that the offending spoke is exactly where that dip is. You want to think that it is, but it's not always the case. And it's something that you can only learn through experience. So you can see here, there's more of a dip. I'm just going to feel the tension. You can see there's a lot of slack in the spokes. And these are the ones we want to do here. Just tighten her up a little bit. And you see how easily the spoke wrench moves? There we go. We kind of getting that dip up. And we only want to do as much as we need to do. If we do too much, right? If we just kind of tighten up willy-nilly, you're going to end up with a hop later when you start to fully tension. go, another head on. You can see that it's just lateral play now. We've gotten most of those dips and hops out, so things are going well. There's a little bit there. I'm saying to just bring up the tension a little bit. So what we want to do is just test with our fingers, right? And you can see I picked out this one spoke here. Again, you can see how easily the spoke wrench moves. And there we go. I think I got it. I think I got that dip pulled up. We always want to do as much as we need. We don't want to overcorrect. You can see that the wheel was spinning quite nicely through the indicator arms, and there's still a lot of slack, but all we need to do is as much as we need to do. There's still a little bit of lateral play. It's a lot more difficult now to see if there are any hops or any dips. Look how smooth that is. Look. There we go. There's a hop and a lateral move over to the left side. Now, we can fix that, right? Sometimes with just one spoke. Now, on the left side, there's probably one spoke that's just a little too tight, and that's pulling the rim up and over to the left. And what we have to do is just find our offending spoke here, and that should fix it. Now, in this case here, we only want to do a little bit at a time again, right? And like I said, it's probably only going to be one spoke. There. You can see, I picked out one spoke and I'm saying to bring the tension down. There we go, I brought it down just a little bit, just a half turn, and the spoke next to it, just a half turn, just to make sure we don't end up with another hop or dip. And again, we use our fingers, right? We use our fingers to just see what the slack is like, and you'll get the feel of that over time. I think it's a little too tight, so I just want to loosen these off. And I did them in pairs again, so we don't lose that radial true. I just wanted to do one, just tighten it up. And again, we just check, right? We check with our fingers, we check the tension, and it's not so bad. Yeah, you can see that the tension it's very, very close in all the spokes, right? And you can see it, but what I'm doing is I'm actually touching it and I can feel that. So I'm just indicating here that it's time to bring up the tension a little more, because when I do that, what's going to happen is it's going to throw the true off again. And not only is that going to happen from tensioning, but I'm not going to show it, but I'm also going to take it out of the stand and I'm going to de-stress the wheel, just to make sure. Even at this low amount of spoke tension, there can still be a little bit of wind-up, and I want to make sure that's all out. I don't want to bring any spoke wind-up along the way. I want to make sure that it's all out, build the tension up slowly. And I don't want any spokes breaking. I don't want any spokes being pulled out of the nipples. I had that problem before with one of the wheels that I was building, and yeah, I'll put up that video, I think, here maybe, if I remember. Yeah, just go all the way around, build up the tension. and then we'll take a peek here. Now, like I said, I've done some de-stressing here, and we want to just see how this ended up. It's actually looking pretty good. Okay, again, you can see that there's a hop up to the left, so it's pulling from right to left, and there's also a bit of a dip here. Okay, there. You can see that hop now. There's no dip, not yet. So what we want to do is we want to play with that spoke on the left side. What we're going to do is we're going to loosen off some tension. It's going to push it over to the right side, and then it's also going to drop the rim and get rid of that hop. Okay, so we're doing a little more fine tuning here. So there we go. Just loosen that off. That's that spoke I was telling you about. We're just going to do the next one over. And just see. We'll just see. Like, you see there was a little too much tension on that one? There. Just do a little more. See what's going on here. And again, like there's a little bit of a dip going on. So we're just going to go right to the offending spoke, and we're going to loosen that off. Basically what I've done is I've just put a little too much tension on the left side, and with each correction there's going to be more correction to come, so you really kind of have to dedicate your time to what you're doing here. Okay, so I loosen off a little bit more. There we go. There's still a bit of drag there, okay? And we want to fix that. We just want to go around the wheel and fix all the drag that we see and do it slowly. So, there's a half off there. And I took a little bit off of the other side because I guess there was a bit of a pull over to the right. There's a bit of a hop there. What I did is I loosened off the spokes, and you can see I did them in pairs. So what I'm doing is I'm just fixing a little bit of the radial true that sort of developed from, adding the spoke tension and de-stressing. There's just a little bit of a problem here. I'm just going to loosen off again. Yeah, that was a hop. So if I'm doing it in pairs, what I'm doing is I'm fixing a hop. Okay, I'm saying that it's good stuff. We're going to see there's really no... Yeah, there's really no hops or dips. A little bit, but those can be fixed just by lateral truing. Because sometimes it's just hopping and dipping simply because we need to lower tension on one spoke on one side or raise tension on one spoke on the other side. And there you go. You can see it's pulling to the left. So we know that there's one spoke that's going to be the offender, and we're going to have to drop the tension on that, which will drop the hop and push the rim to the right side, hopefully centering it. Okay, and I'm just showing you here like where the problem is, well, where one of the problems is. And on this one here, I guess I didn't see it, but I thought it was best to just drop the tension, okay, on the right side. And I guess what was happening is there's a bit of a, like a wave. So what we want to do is drop that tension over, even though it kind of seemed like the offending spoke would be on the left side. Now that I've dropped some of that tension and gotten rid of that wave, what I'm going to do is just tighten it up where there was that offending spoke. So I guess what happened is it wasn't a spoke on the left side, it was a spoke on the right side because I wanted to raise the tension up. These are some of the small kind of, idiosyncrasies of each rim. We'll personify it, okay? Now, you might think that you should do it one way, but really the fix is another way. And that's why you kind of have to be alert of all the problems that you can see. this particular spoke on the right needs more tension. And I guess the next spoke over. So there must have been a bit of a wave maybe. And this is the result here. So there's still a bit of a wave over on the right side. I think what we're going to want to do over here is lower the tension on the right side, which will push it over to the left side. So in my attempt to fix the pull on the left side, I may have overdone it on the right side. So what I did was raise the spoke tension over on the left side, and that should fix the problem with any luck. But again, it's always a case of fixing one thing and then having to fix the next thing that comes. So you can see there I indicated that we're going to have to drop some tension on the right side again. So, that whole thing that I did before, I think what I did is I added a little too much tension on the right side and, well, it didn't work out. And that could also be because there was just too much tension on specific spokes on the other side. So I'm saying it's good, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little more tension onto the entire wheel and see where I'm at. Okay, and of course, like I said, I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to de-stress the wheel on the floor and then throw it back in the stand. And this is the way that it looks here. And it's actually spinning all right, but there's a bit of a problem there. I'm not quite sure if it's just rubbing to the left or if it's a radial issue. So how I'm going to figure it out is I'm just going to check the tension on the spokes here. And I guess what I came up with was I need to tighten up a little bit on the left side. So I guess there's a bit of a dip because I'm tightening up on the next spokes over. So maybe there's a bit of a long dip. But sometimes when I do this, there's a bit of a wave in the wheel, and that's how you fix it. But if I'm tightening on every spoke, that means simply that there was a radial dip, and I'm just trying to fix that. Now again, part of the art of doing this is you just kind of have to know how far to go. Now the indicator arms will only show you so much, and with experience you just kind of figure it out. So I guess all I'm saying is you have to do a lot of wheels and then you'll kind of get it. And you can see I've gone kind of back and forth here. A little bit of tension, a little more tension, and I wasn't sure there. So basically I had to check again, right? I had to check the tension with my fingers and just double check, just see. Again, I use my fingers, check the tension, and you can see how much tension has been added since we started at the beginning. And like I said, it's always just a back and forth, right? You're just constantly adding tension and building the wheel, truing the wheel until you get it right, which I'm kind of saying I did here. Here's the head-on, and you can see there's a teeny bit of a gimp there, right? A little bit of a hop, but what we have to remember is this is a used rim. I'm not using brand new stuff here, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up because with a wider tire and a bit of a thicker tire, you're never ever going to notice that. Okay, so the next step here is we're just going to check the dish. We either start on the non-drive side, or the disc side if it's a rear wheel. And there's a little bit of a gap there, which you can kind of see in the stand here. And all we do is we just go around and we fix it. So there's also a little bit of rub there, a bit of a dip, but I'm going to show you, like, when there's a dip there around a certain point, it's because like it's a pinned rim. So it's either pinned or welded, and usually that weld, like that joint, is just going to touch the indicator arms. And again, that's something that you're just going to have to accept. Yeah, you're never going to get it perfect. If it's really, really big of a dip, then yeah, but you know, for the most part, you just leave it. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fix the dish. So what I'm going to do is just go all the way around the wheel, half turns on the non-drive side, which on this hub is the disc side. And then of course I'm going to take it out of the stand, and then I'm going to de-stress it, and then I'll put it back on the stand, and we'll go right to that front view again. And here we go. You can see that the whole wheel is kind of pushed over to the right side. There's a little bit of gimping going on here, you know, just radial gimping, but that's always going to happen. So we're just going to fix our indicator arms here, just kind of tighten it up, and then we're going to fix that little gimp. So I'm deciding here that on the drive side, I'm just going to loosen it off a little bit. And what that'll do is just push it over to the left side. So on the non-drive side, I just want to bring the tension up a little bit, and that's going to pull it over to the left side from the right side. And the reason we want to do that is because there's less tension, right, on the left side, because it's just kind of the way it is, the non-drive side. Which, whenever I do a wheel, it's always going to be on the left side. And we want to do our minor corrections on that side simply because there's less tension. There's always going to be more tension on the drive side, so we don't want to over tighten on that side in case we break a spoke or we pull spokes out of the nipples, you know, and then we have to find new nipples, we have to redo it, and it's just too much work. So here we go. Here's what it looks like all done up. You know, it's pretty smooth, it's really tight. There's a little bit of gimping up and down, but like I said, it's a used rim, so there's always going to be that. So anyways, I hope this helps you out when you're doing your own truing. Even if you're really, really good at it, sometimes it's good to see other people do what they do, because every truing session is going to be its own truing session, and that, of course, is true when you're building a wheel and building up all the tension. Okay, again, thanks for watching, and if you want to check out any more of my truing videos, you can click right here.